So not too long ago, we reported on this civil war on the right. And there was some event, Texas Conservatives or something like that, where Dan Crenshaw took some shots at Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and he made the argument, hey, listen, when you look at the voting record, I'm more like Trump, and even Adam Kinzinger, who's anti-Trump, voted more with Trump than the Marjorie Taylor Greene types and the Matt Gaetz types. And he was saying, like, don't fall for all this show, because the show is irrelevant. It's about, the policy, effectively. Now, on the one hand, I don't agree with him. I hate his ideology, but I'm sympathetic to that argument because policy is ultimately all that matters. But the fact of the matter is, right underneath his criticism is something very simple. Jealousy. Dan Crenshaw is jealous that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz, that they're the ones who get all the press, and they're the ones who get most of the fundraising from the Trump base. And so he was basically whining and saying, look at me, I'm better, mommy, why don't you pick me? So he was upset about that. He took some shots at her. She took some shots at him. And now that civil war has escalated. It has escalated. So Dan Crenshaw came out and said, quote, I'm a conservative. I always make sure people know there's only so much the government can do. What the federal government should be doing, again, using their FEMA resources to bolster a lot of these testing sites, open up new testing sites. This is what we saw happen during the Trump administration. So he's talking about the Omicron surge. He's talking about how Biden's failing. And he's saying, look, open up testing sites and get on it right now. Is that a policy that I think is good? Yeah, absolutely. I think he should use the Defense Production Act to make these tests. I think he should use the Defense Production Act to make monoclonal antibodies, to make all these therapeutics. This is the government doing something that the government should be doing. So Dan Crenshaw is 100% right. And then, by the way, Crenshaw also went on to say the same thing. He said, look, the government we should focus our resources on making monoclonal antibodies and stuff like that, and recruiting healthcare workers, bring them into the military or FEMA and help people that way. So Marjorie Taylor Greene comes out. This is glorious. Marjorie Taylor Greene comes out and says, oh, shit, I missed my spot. Here we go. Quote, no, FEMA should not set up testing sites to check for Omicron sneezes, coughs, and runny noses. He needs to stop calling himself a conservative. He's hurting our brand. What? So wait, it's good for conservatism to say, let the virus rip through unabated and let's not have the government do basic governmental functions. Apparently that's what she thinks. Now, listen, from a conservative ideological perspective, she has a point. Because if you really do believe, I'm in favor of limited government, well, why would the government get involved in healthcare? Now, I'm a lefty, so my perspective is, yes, have the government get involved in healthcare. Yes, have the government do everything with healthcare. Get the profit motive out of it. No mafia-like middlemen. Should be free at the point of service, funded through our tax dollars, instead of endless wars and Wall Street bailout. Fund health. But it is more the right-wing perspective to say, get the government out of healthcare. Okay, so she is being more conservative in this respect. Well, he didn't like that. He said, quote, hey, Marjorie, if suggesting we should follow Trump policy instead of Biden mandates makes you mad, then you might be a Democrat. Or just an idiot. So look, on the substance of it, he's right about that, because she is an idiot. And I mean, to take a bold stand during a pandemic of like, let's have the government not help as much as possible. It's like, yeah, you are kind of an idiot. Now, he of course had to frame it in partisan terms and say, well, I'm against Biden mandates, so that's why I'm for the government testing and monoclonal antibodies and stuff. See, he's trying to posture as like, more right-wing than thou, even while making an argument that is not more right-wing than her. But his point is correct. Like, hey, this is similar to a Trump policy. So on that front, he's like, I'm with Trump, you're against Trump. So how you like them apples? So that they're going at it. Now, then we had Marjorie Taylor Greene get banned from Twitter. And she starts crying about that and whining about that. Understandably so. If I got banned from Twitter, I'd be saying the same thing. Now, granted, I don't post COVID misinformation every 17 seconds like she does, but still, I understand being upset about getting banned from Twitter. Well, then Crenshaw goes on his Instagram story and he says this. Hey, real Marjorie Taylor Greene, instead of playing the victim about censorship, maybe use your position as a legislator to help pass legislation against censorship. Luckily, I've already done all the hard work for you and drafted a bill that would change Section 230 to prohibit political censorship. Want to co-sponsor before I introduce it, or prefer to keep up with petty and childish attacks? Your call. So a couple things to say about that. He says, well, you're playing the victim. I mean, look, dude, I hate Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she definitely posted COVID misinformation, but she is an actual victim. She's not playing the victim. If you're banned from Twitter and you say, hey, I shouldn't have been banned from Twitter, you have a genuine claim to victimhood on that front. So weird to be like so-called victim or whatever. But the other thing about this is his bill would not stop political censorship at all. Would not stop social media censorship and deplatforming and banning at all. This whole Section 230 thing that the right's obsessed with, they totally misread that policy. Because they think, oh, if we just get rid of Section 230, well then the social media companies will have to be more hands-off and allow free speech. Wrong. Section 230 is, the idea of Section 230 is you allow the social media sites to be basically blank slate. So in other words, you can't be held responsible if you're Twitter or if you're Facebook for somebody who posts on Twitter or Facebook. Basically their argument is, hey man, I'm a medium. I don't do any curating or editing or, cutting and pasting or nipping and tucking. In other words, they're not treated like a newspaper or something like that. They're treated like just sort of a medium blank slate thing where people come and say whatever they want to say and they can't be held legally responsible for it. If you get rid of that and you make Twitter and Facebook and all these different outlets, you make them responsible for the crazy shit that people post on these sites, then they'll do even more censorship and even more deplatforming because they don't want to be held responsible for what some psycho says. I don't know why they think, oh, if you do this policy, then they'll have to allow, more free speech. It's the exact opposite. So they're just dead wrong about this. And I don't doubt that they sincerely believe if you get rid of Section 230 that you'll have more free speech, but you're just wrong. It will massively increase censorship and deplatforming. So he's wrong on the policy of that as well. Now, I have more. Dan Crenshaw continued and said that Marjorie scoffed at the notion of supporting anti-censorship legislation is indicative of her true intent, to remain a victim. She doesn't want solutions, and she doesn't care if you get censored. She just wants to be a victim so she can keep asking you for campaign donations. It's a scam. This one got under my skin because we just covered the story. Dan Crenshaw just asked for donations while he was on Fox News, small donations, to make another shitty action movie style ad where he's a superhero. And he's saying, she just wants to play the victim. She can keep asking you for donations. You just asked for donations for something incredibly stupid. So look in the mirror, Dippy. What are you talking about? And listen, I said it before, I'll say it again. I hate Marjorie Taylor Greene, disagree with her on virtually everything, and she is posting COVID misinformation, and that's deplorable, but she was banned from Twitter. So insofar as she's a victim, that would make sense on that front. Anybody who gets censored has some claim to victimhood, or deplatformed has some claim to victimhood. Now, granted, she still has her congressional Twitter account, so how censored is she really if she can still pop on there and say whatever she wants? But there is a point there, and your legislation is not anti-censorship. I'm going to come back to the main point on this because I really do think this underlies the entire debate. Dan Crenshaw is jealous of Marjorie Taylor Greene. He's jealous of Lauren Boebert. He's jealous of Matt Gaetz. He's jealous of the Trump-style Republicans who get more press than him and get more love from the base. And he's tried so hard to be that popular, cool kid who's in with the base, who gets all the love and the donations, but he's just not as dynamic or interesting as the other ones. He's kind of got a shitty personality. And so he's not that charismatic, and so he just doesn't get that love. And I think him lashing out and the Marjorie Taylor Greene types is just him jealous, basically. Now, I will agree with him on one thing, though. He's right about the coronavirus thing for sure. You should do more testing. You should use the Defense Production Act to make more monoclonal antibodies and other therapeutics. You absolutely should. So he's right about that stuff. And he's right that she's an idiot. I think that might be another part of it. To be fair to Crenshaw, I think another part of it is he genuinely feels like she's really fucking stupid, and I don't want that to be the face of conservatism moving forward. Bad news for you, Dan. It is. And the other thing is, yeah, you're marginally better than her in some respects, but this guy's wrong about almost everything. I watched his podcast with Joe Rogan, and every single policy idea that this guy pushes is just based on terrible evidence and not thoughtful and would actively hurt working people in this country. And I actually care about working people. I care about average Americans. And this guy is just a doctrinaire conservative in many respects. Save the COVID testing thing that he floated, which was good. But anyway, there you have it. Man, they're going at it. Keep fighting, baby. I'm enjoying watching this. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.